Hello, welcome to DKR Sports. I'm Rubin, Wright, and this is Deion Lunstrum. Today we're going to talk about some interesting highlights, interesting topics, interesting discussions. On the MLB, we have some interesting topics about playoff contention. In the NBA, we have a great media day that happened. In the NCAA football world, we got some interesting topics about college football. In the NFL, we got some interesting youth discussions as well as power rankings.
Correct. In case you've been watching the MLB, the Cubs grabbed their 100th win of the season for the first time since 1935. That's a long time.
It's long.
What is that? 71 years. That's old. Ortiz and the Red Sox still looking to guarantee a playoff spot against the Yankees tonight. The Yankees are not doing too well, so I'm pretty sure that'll work out. The Yankee fans, there's always been tons of booing, but David Ortiz said the Yankees fans always brought out the best in him.
Yep. They definitely, that's what he says in a recent, basically, article saying that the Yankees fans, even though they booed him, he just shot to be better, and he looks to, finish off very good. But I think the Yankees, they are definitely in trouble right now.
I don't know what exactly they were talking about, but I heard some speculation of, the entire crowd mooning David Ortiz. I don't know what that was, but that's a lot of butt cheeks. And the Yankees are drifting away from the playoffs. They dropped last night, and now they're facing the Red Sox. And it's not looking good. They're drifting away. They're 5 games behind now, and I honestly, playing the Red Sox, they don't seem to be getting any better.
Very much now it is a do-or-die situation where they pretty much, they need to win out. It's not, they can still make it without winning out, but that would mean every other team in front of them drops pretty much all their games.
And that's not going to happen. If anybody watched, the dedication to Jose Fernandez was conducted on, Monday night?
Yep, Monday.
And, it was a great thing to watch. It brings tears to true sports fans. Every member of the Miami Marlins happened to wear a Jose Fernandez number 16 jersey, and I just think it was a great experience to watch. D. Gordon,
yep.
Miami Marlins player, he went to lead off the game. Obviously, he was the first hitter, in case you didn't know. He was very emotional before the game, and he got out there, and usually a left-handed hitter, he lined up and tried to imitate Jose Fernandez's batting stance as well as he could.
Yep.
He took a pitch, switches to his left, changes helmets and everything, and he gets up and crushes a pitch into the seats and hits a leadoff home run. Very emotional moment.
Yeah, it was definitely an emotional moment just for the Marlins, faithful as well as just the baseball world.
Correct.
Just going out there, I feel, and wearing 16 was just enough. And then D. Gordon goes out there and hits a home run, the first of the year for him. And it brought tears to him and brought tears to the MLB world. And it's that's what happens. You lose a guy, and especially when it's someone on your team, of course you're going to be close. So it definitely was hard for Gordon, but he'll move on, and he'll have a great remembrance of him. He got a home run in his honor.
Next, we have the NBA. All the teams had their media days yesterday, which was very, very interesting. A lot of crazy things. Watching the media day broadcast, you see Dwayne Wade on the Bulls. Mm-hmm. You see Rondo on the Bulls. You see Kevin Durant on the Warriors.
Oof.
That's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, that stacked team of the Warriors now, 4 players who are all, superstars. So
yeah,
that team's looking, it's looking...
That's the team you don't want to play on 2K.
That is.
Trust me, that's cheating, just in case anybody wants to try to play with them. In a very strange, probably false statement, Doc Rivers stated that he thought that they could contend with the Warriors. Now, I don't know what kind of plant, herb, drug he was doing, smoking, or on. They couldn't compete with them before they had Kevin Durant.
No.
What makes them think they're going to be able to do it without? Yes, given they do have Chris Paul, probably the best point guard in the NBA, probably the best true point guard in the NBA. They have Blake Griffin, usually plagued by injuries, to be honest, and DeAndre Jordan, which, that's a great group, but when you got Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and Kevin Durant, it doesn't look like you're getting past that very easily.
They just don't have definitely in the middle with DeAndre Jordan, they can exploit some weaknesses in the Warrior, and that's pretty much what every team is going to be throughout the year. It's going to be exploit the middle. But, yes, you can exploit the middle for so long, but then, on offense, Steph Curry doesn't have a shot. He kicks it out to Klay Thompson. Oh, Klay Thompson doesn't have a shot. Kicks out to Kevin Durant.
One of these guys are going to have a shot throughout.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird. Now, you do see other things in New York. You see Derrick Rose and Joakim Noah. Also, Brandon Jennings and Courtney Lee all on the Knicks. Seems like a great squad.
Yep.
Now, moving into the super teams topic, we see a few super teams these days. I guess you got the Knicks, where you have the starting line. You have Rose. You got Rose, Noah. You got Courtney Lee, Melo, Porzingis, and Joakim Noah. That's a fantastic lineup.
One of the weaker super teams, to be honest, but still very much.
But honestly, when you think about it, there's not many super teams right now.
Yep, and really in the Eastern Conference, if you're looking at that to contend with, they have the Cavaliers and the Raptors. Boston Celtics can probably make a case with Al Horford now. But it's not like the Western Conference where you got
loaded teams.
Golden State, the Clippers, you got the Thunder with Westbrook, you got the Houston Rockets. The Eastern Conference is far weaker than what the Western Conference is.
And I think that gives them a way better chance to make the playoffs. But in comparison to other super teams, now you got the Knicks, you got the Warriors. How do you think the Cavs fare in that? With only a big three. Now I know they have Kyrie, they have LeBron, and they have Kevin Love. But do they have that fourth guy to kind of bring it all together? Do you think Tristan Thompson, do you think them utilizing their bench with J.R. Smith and Amon Shumpert, do you think that, increases their chances of repeating for a title?
Yeah, I definitely think it does. If you look at the Cavaliers, the one thing they have over the Warriors, the Warriors do have a great starting four, but the Warriors' bench depth is not what it was, just a couple past years with Harrison Barnes and all that. So, now if you look at the Cavaliers, J.R. Smith and Amon Shumpert, those are great bench players. And they have Kevin Love, if he can play to, Kevin Love, Minnesota, style of rebounder scores. Yeah. They'll be fine. And LeBron, still one of the best players in the league, probably the best player in the league right now. And then, Kyrie's an excellent point guard. So, they don't have a big four, but they have bench and a big three. So, they definitely can contend in the East. But I feel like you get to the championship, I think the Warriors will find a way to demolish them.
Now, let's say speculation of title contenders. Now, let's say, give it 4 teams. What 4 teams do you think have the greatest chance? Now, obviously, there's the 2 that everybody's going to think. We got the Cavs and we got the Warriors. Who are those other 2 teams that you're looking to see possibly in the Western Conference Finals and the Eastern Conference Finals?
Well, you definitely got to, I feel like the Spurs with Kawhi Leonard,
I think the Spurs are definitely the number 2 team in the West right now. Because the Thunder, they did lose Kevin Durant. Russell Westbrook has been proven he cannot do it all by himself. When Kevin Durant was injured a few years back, Russell Westbrook and the Thunder were they weren't able to make the playoffs.
Yep.
With just Westbrook, it's impossible. The Spurs, they
only lost really Tim Duncan.
They added LaMarcus Aldridge,
but they only lose Tim Duncan, who was already a bench player. So I feel like they definitely Spurs. They'll find a way to make it. And then my other team would probably be in the East that go against Cavaliers are probably the Boston Celtics. I feel like that acquisition of Al Horford.
I don't know.
Toronto definitely has a chance. I just don't.
I think we need to see how the season fares.
It does. Because I don't. If Boston, it depends on how much.
I think the Knicks definitely plead a strong case in the East. I think you
gotta hope that Derrick Rose is actually. If Derrick Rose gets hurt,
healthy.
Yeah, if he's healthy, they got a chance.
Contender.
But if not healthy,
then you completely.
Then it's either I feel Toronto or Boston. But if the Knicks, if Derrick Rose plays,
now you have to look at the Hawks as well. The Hawks acquired Dwight Howard. And Dennis Schroeder is now their starting point guard. Kyle Korver's still there. He's still going to be making 3-point shots. And, I think that's a solid team to look out for. Maybe Dwight Howard can make a comeback. Maybe he can be the original Dwight Howard that he used to be.
It's definitely. I feel like in the East, it's a lot more of an open race than it is in the West. In the West, you're pretty obvious that the Golden State's probably going to go all the way no matter what. East, Cavaliers should. but they have some competition now this year.
They do. Now, moving on to NCAA football, we have I guess you would say, almost mid-season Heisman watch.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see how that is faring. Looks like in the lead with 50 first-place votes, no other than Lamar Jackson. The guy's ridiculous. He is the youngest player throughout the Heisman poll.
Mm-hmm.
He's a sophomore compared to everybody else being a junior or senior. You know, you got Christian McCaffrey, but it looks like Lamar Jackson's unanimously in the lead right now.
Which he very much deserves.
Correct.
His stats are just unreal.
Last week, he had 417 yards and 5 touchdowns passing, which he kind of moved away from the, typical, the 150 rushing yards. But, I mean, this season, he's got 1,300 plus passing yards. He's got 13 touchdowns.
And we're only in week 5.
He's got a 93.7 total QBR out of 100. Now, that's ridiculous.
I think he's only thrown like 3 interceptions as well, 1 per game. So he's definitely been an explosive player for Louisville, and it's hard going against Louisville to be one of the favorites for the college football playoff right now. After demolishing, Florida State, and doing what they've done so far. So I mean, Louisville, Marshall, they played Marshall this past weekend, demolished them.
What I think is absolutely insane when you look at Christian McCaffrey stats. Now, and I say we take 2 other players, right? The next 2 Heisman hopefuls. We got Christian McCaffrey at 2, and then you got JT Barrett at 3.
Yep.
Now, Lamar Jackson has 526 rushing yards, 12 touchdowns, and 8.6 yards per carry. In comparison to Christian McCaffrey has 90 less yards rushing, 9 less touchdowns, and 3 less yards per carry. Now, not only that, but in passing, he's leading. He has doubled JT Barrett's passing yards. He has 3 more touchdowns. He does have 2 more interceptions, but his QBR is, I mean, it's soaring. You got 93.7 in comparison to 69.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Definitely, just looking at the on-field play too. If you've watched JT Barrett play at Ohio State versus what Lamar Jackson's done at Louisville, I mean,
which he's a great player. I will give JT Barrett that.
The thing is probably if you look at Ohio State, I feel like wide receiver core, they have the more talented wide receiver core as well as offensive line. You look at what Urban Meyer's done with Ohio State compared to what Bobby Petrino's done at Louisville.
I mean, I feel like it's kind of an Olympic run. You know, like you got all these good guys that are up here, and I mean, yeah, you can be, so to speak, the fastest in your category, but you can't keep up. Nobody can keep up with Usain Bolt. Lamar Jackson is the Usain Bolt of college football right now.
Yep.
Everybody else is doing great. They can win in their own personal statement, but when compared to him, they look absolutely awful.
Yeah,
you got a quarterback doing that.
You have Christian McCaffrey and JT Barrett. You put them in a normal Heisman Trophy.
They're up
year.
there. Christian McCaffrey's number 1 most of the time. Let's see. What do we have next? We have our score recap. Now, let's see. I know you heard us make some picks. Before we do that, let's go over the poll a little bit. The top 7 stayed intact. You still got Bama, Ohio State, Louisville, Michigan, and Clemson. That's your top 5.
Yep.
And then you
got Houston.
You got Wisconsin.
Wisconsin, which is a good team. Wisconsin, we didn't believe in them last week. Coming in. I mean, Michigan State. I don't think a lot of people believe in them, but Michigan State definitely thrashed Michigan State over the weekend, and Wisconsin proves that LSU was an okay team, and when they beat them, they deserved it. Now they beat Michigan State. Wisconsin is a team you got to watch out for.
Honestly, predicting that game, you don't not take Michigan State at home, and Wisconsin did the unexpected, and they absolutely they crushed them. Now, the question is, can Alabama stay atop? Can they remain number one? I know next week they play Kentucky. It's going to be a nice, easy game, but they have a very serious slate after that. They got at Arkansas. Always a tough game for Alabama when they play at Arkansas. At Tennessee.
Which Tennessee's good.
Tennessee's looking good. They have the biggest crowd, I believe.
Yeah, with Bristol.
One of the top three. One of the
at Tennessee, I believe they draw 100,000.
They have one of the top three college football crowds, and then they play Texas A&M. But then right after that, they're at LSU.
Yeah, which LSU is,
LSU's not.
We don't know yet, especially with the new coach Ed Orgeron. We don't know what he's going to do.
To watch what they do.
But I feel like for Alabama, I feel like they might actually get jumped for the sole reason that of if you look ahead.
Now, I think if Louisville is able to capitalize this weekend against Clemson, I think Louisville jumps.
Exactly. I think that happens too.
Because especially if you take now what Louisville did to Florida State. Louisville was what? They were 10?
Yeah, and they thrashed them by...
And Florida State was 3.
40?
They beat them
40 points
handily, and Lamar Jackson had a great game. And you saw Florida State drop out of the top 10, and Louisville shot up to number 3.
Yep.
Now, so to speak, say Louisville would have already been in the top 10.
Mm-hmm.
Now that they've proven themselves, and they are, if you beat a top 5 team handily by 40 or so points, I mean, that is your statement to be number one. Granted that these ACC schools, Louisville has not played an SEC caliber team, but the ACC is definitely getting stronger.
Yes.
And there's no excuse, Lamar Jackson's ridiculous.
I definitely feel, too, going back to Wisconsin, the one thing Wisconsin's got to watch out for is, according to ESPN, their football power index, they got to play a tough schedule still. They got Michigan still. They still got Ohio State.
Now, that's a tough game. Michigan.
Yep.
Michigan and Ohio State, those are two top. Now, remember this. Ohio State and Michigan are both top 4.
Mm-hmm.
Our college football playoff picture right now, I mean, it looks pretty set at what it is. It looks like it could be Alabama, Ohio State, Louisville, and Michigan.
Except for Ohio State and Michigan.
Now, that's exactly. Later in the season, we're going to see Ohio State and Michigan play each other. Now,
Louisville and Clemson also just coming up. So
if you see a good game between Ohio State and Michigan, though, could we possibly see
I feel like
team, or do you see one of them drop?
No, I don't. I think by the end, even if there's any one-loss teams, whoever won.
Give me an early prediction. Give me an early prediction of what you think your college football playoff picture is going to be.
I think we're going to have Alabama,
of course,
Louisville, Michigan, and Houston.
Houston.
I think
Houston's got a better schedule the rest of the week.
They already beat Oklahoma. They're going to win out, no doubt, with Greg Ward Jr. there. And I think Stanford, Wisconsin, Texas A&M, those schools, they're going to face the Coutts. Texas A&M, of course.
Now, honestly, now that I think about this, if Alabama is to fall to Texas A&M, or
Texas A&M has a chance.
Or Tennessee also.
Yeah, or Tennessee, yes.
If Alabama is undefeated going into either of those games and they fall, I think they shoot. Now, Tennessee and A&M, those are both risers. Tennessee just jumped 3 spots. They just beat Florida.
Yep, Florida.
And that was in Florida, correct?
Yep.
And that was a great game by Tennessee. I honestly thought that they were a little overrated, which, granted, Florida did not finish the game how they should have, but
I thought Tennessee was
still, yeah.
They looked very bad week 1 against Appalachian State. You see them next game against Virginia Tech, and they opened up terrible against them, but they come back. So Tennessee is one of those if we were playing fantasy, for instance,
right.
That's one of those borderline teams. Do you sell? Do you buy? I don't know. I gotta see what they do against a team like Alabama, Ole Miss, something like that. On the other hand, though, Texas A&M, I'm a little bit more feeling that if anyone's gonna beat Alabama, it'll be a Texas A&M type team.
Keep in mind that the Tennessee game is in Tennessee, though. The Texas A&M game is in Alabama. Now, granted, Trevor Knight gives the Crimson Tide issues. We've saw that in the past. What year is he now?
He's a senior.
He's a senior. Yeah. I remember watching him as a freshman.
Yeah, back at Oklahoma. Yeah.
Correct. When he took Alabama out of that game. Now let's do a quick recap of the scores. Obviously, Clemson beat Georgia Tech. We announced that on our Friday show. You had Utah did pull away. Now, I had the prediction that USC was going to upset Obviously, if you watch the game, 20 seconds to go.
Yeah, and
Utah runs. Now that kind of worries me a little bit about Utah playing USC. I think it's kind of
that's a team that they should. If Utah
now Utah went up 6 spots in the polls.
Yes.
Now the committee obviously saw something that I'm not, but I think playing USC, I think USC's not as good as people are making them.
Oh no, I mean they got absolutely thrashed by Alabama week 1, so
yeah,
or week 1 or 2.
And I mean they kept up with Utah. I think that throws trouble in front of
They'll
Utah.
definitely have a chance in the Pac-12, no doubt. I mean big competition might be Stanford and maybe UCLA, but I think other than that they'll be safe. I mean maybe Oregon of course, but
now we got Florida State, South Florida. That was an interesting game until then. Ole Miss did, in fact, upset Georgia. That means I was right, and Rubin was wrong.
Yeah, Nick Chubb and Eason, their quarterback at Georgia, they had a terrible game. I think they went down like 17-0, and it was. I mean, Ole Miss. See, the thing with Ole Miss is it's so hard because Ole Miss has the ability.
It was a home game.
Yeah,
it was a home game. Now, Chad Kelly.
He's got the ability.
He had a fantastic game. I could see him being a possible, top draft pick if a team is looking for him, depending on how he finishes the season.
The only thing I had with Ole Miss is that the fact that they played Alabama, they played Florida State, and they weren't able to finish the games. Because if they finished the games, right now we'd be sitting here and talking about Ole Miss as number 1 team in the country. If they were able to finish the games against Florida State and Alabama, and now Georgia,
that does kind of worry me when you look at Louisville.
Yeah, but I mean,
smacked Florida State. Rough. That was rough.
The thing I say that is because now Louisville has this chance because Louisville beat Florida State and they are going to play Clemson this week and they beat them. I guarantee you Louisville will be number 1. But Ole Miss, you look at this. Alabama was number 1 when they played them. When they played Florida State, I believe Florida State was either 2 or 3. So that's 2 wins.
I do have to look at it like this. If you're number 1, and I wouldn't say exactly it would be a guarantee that Louisville would jump to 1. I think Louisville would definitely jump to 2, but
it depends on how good Alabama
plays. The committee is
played.
really funny about stuff like that. Now, you could be number 1 and smack a mid-major school and,
they'll
stay atop number 1, but you
if
could
they
be Louisville. You could be Louisville and destroy number 5, and you're only going to move into number 2.
Yep.
The committee is known to love Alabama, so I wouldn't be surprised if Alabama stays number 1 until they lose, but watch out for Louisville. They're definitely creeping.
Louisville, they'll be in the college football playoff.
We had Michigan smack Penn State. That's no surprise.
Yeah, Michigan, their culture.
Florida was looking to upset Tennessee until, the 4th quarter?
Yep, 4th quarter.
You had
Houston absolutely destroyed Texas State 64-3.
Yeah.
Houston, they're going to win out. They play on the American Conference, a weak conference. But the thing is they have that signature win against Oklahoma. That's
what propelled them into the top 10.
That's why I believe they'll be in the college football playoff.
Correct. Stanford beat UCLA. We had Washington over Arizona in a very close game.
Washington's a team to watch.
A&M did, in fact, beat Arkansas. Arkansas is 20 in the rankings right now. And then Louisville handled Marshall. Lamar Jackson, again, putting up impressive stats. Who is going to stop Lamar Jackson? Do you think Clemson can do it?
See, I would say Clemson has a chance, but Clemson, they just have not played like the Clemson everyone expected them to be.
They didn't play like the expected,
because last year, Deshaun Watson was almost like Lamar Jackson. He was an explosive player. This year, they've had struggles with Troy. I mean, yes, they beat Georgia Tech, but they beat them 27-6. The Clemson that everyone expected Clemson to be a team exactly like what Louisville's doing, beating people by 40, 50, So, I don't know, maybe Clemson goes into the game and they find a way to win. If they find a way to win, Clemson is that college football playoff, I feel, on the ACC.
Right.
Louisville wins, Louisville is going to come out.
Now, let's take a look into a current mock draft, just see where these college players stand. Now, what's crazy is when you think about it in perspective, Lamar Jackson is a sophomore. He can't even go into the NFL until after next season.
This actually opens up really interesting discussion.
Now, is that good?
Well, I think,
or is that bad? Do you think we're seeing the insane sophomores, because Christian McCaffrey was phenomenal as a sophomore. You had Trevor Knight, also good as a sophomore, which Trevor Knight looks like he could be, very good. Deshaun Watson was good as a sophomore.
I mean, personally, I think with Lamar Jackson, a lot of people are not, they don't know about him, but I was reading the article about Lamar Jackson and Bobby Petrino. I mean, first of all, the guy was an unknown commodity, 3-star recruit out of Florida. He goes to Louisville. He had never learned a playbook in his entire life. Bobby Petrino teaches him a playbook. The guy has turned from a blue-chip prospect in his freshman year to a superstar. One more year of development. Yes, I know he runs the ball, but the thing is...
When you look at his passing, though...
Yes, he's more of a pass-first quarterback.
You think when you watch him, this guy is a running, dual-threat quarterback, but when you look at his passing stats, like I said, 1,330 yards and 13 touchdowns with only 3 interceptions.
The guy knows
Those are NFL numbers. That's through 4 games. He is averaging over 300 passing yards a game.
The guy knows how to throw the ball. And the thing is what Bobby Petrino's trying to teach him is your legs have to be your second option. Your arm, your vision
and that's
have to
the
be
problem
first.
with most college quarterbacks.
But if he can get this down, which he has this year and next year, I'm telling you, as an NFL quarterback, he will have success. He will be basically a Cam Newton. I think he could be the next Cam Newton.
I think he could be better than Cam.
Or better than Cam. I mean, the guy's got, he's definitely faster than Cam, I can tell you that.
He's
got great vision. He's got great passing.
Now, his accuracy is insane. The guy's got NFL numbers. Now, we also look at Deshaun Kaiser.
Which is, I don't know, because Notre Dame is playing. I mean,
the
thing about Notre Dame, though, is...
he's a little overrated.
Yes. But Notre Dame's real problem, though, is their defense. It's not really their offense.
Correct.
They struggled on defense.
You can put up points on offense, which this statement goes both ways. Defense wins championships, offense wins games. You do have to be able to put up points, but at the same time, you can't have one without the other. Yes. You cannot have an offense that's putting up points. I mean, to bring it back to the Saints game last night, you can score 32 points in a game, which is a lot for an NFL game, but if you're allowing 45 points, that doesn't help anything, especially if your defense is letting you down. Because, honestly, a lot of the times, there's one likely turnover going to happen per side, per game. Whether that be a dropped pass that got tipped up and then intercepted, or whether it be, an offensive line breakdown and a sack. I definitely think you do need the defense. Because if you can't contain, then they'll outburst and score as many points as they want.
Especially in college football, you can have an explosive offense and you can have success. Of course, we see it in the Big 12 all the time. But when you do get to teams against like Alabama and something like that, Alabama is on both sides. They have a great defense, but they have a great offense. And if you want to win a championship, you need to be able to score points, but you got to be able to stop the ball. So it's. With Notre Dame, Kaiser is a great quarterback on offense. Notre Dame, I wouldn't really rate him on how bad his team's doing because their defense is atrocious. About 140 points, I think, given up in just the first 4 weeks.
That's terrible. And one more guy that we're going to cover, Leonard Fournette. He's still having a great year. They still have him in the top 10 for projections. I think he'll be a great NFL running back. He's got the speed, versatility. He's got the agility. He's a power back. He can score inside the red zone. He can also outrun guys the full length of the field. He's got stamina. I think he's a really good player, and I think he will fare well in the NFL. Now, one more thing we need to cover in regard to Syracuse, because obviously we love Syracuse here. We love them. Amba Edetawo.
Gotta watch out for him.
He is looking like a phenomenal receiver. He's a senior transfer from Maryland. Maryland got spanked by Dino Babers last year. And I guess Edetawo liked what he saw in Dino Babers' offense, took a visit to SU, and, he seems to be loving it. Seems like Eric Dungy's giving him all
favorite target.
It seems like he can target him whenever he wants. That's the go-to guy. Now, one thing to watch out for, I don't know why defenses haven't picked this up yet. If there's one-on-one coverage on Edetawo,
you throw it to him.
He catches it.
Yeah.
Every time. The guy's ridiculous. He's got... How many yards does he have?
I know he's first in yards. I believe
706 yards.
And that's first in the country.
5 touchdowns.
The guy is on the Biletnikoff Award watch list. I would not be surprised at the end if he wins it.
A little downside. Now, when you look at this, though, what's crazy is, I just noticed this stat. His career amount of yards, 1,644.
Mm-hmm.
This season, he has 7. He had 200-plus yards last game, setting the Syracuse record for receiving yards in one game.
I feel like he's found an offense that fits him. He's found, he's become this deep threat.
He's shining in his last year. The only thing that's happening is his draft stock is just going up.
Yep.
SU can be terrible, but if you got a guy that's averaging 150-plus,
receiving yards,
The downside is he does have 40 receptions. But he's averaging almost 20 yards a reception.
And to make a comparison between, Eric Dungy wears number 2, Johnny Manziel went number 2. Johnny Manziel had Mike Evans, a tall receiver who's a deep threat. Editawo is
given Editawo he's somewhat short, 6'2".
But the guy can get up there and catch.
He would look, he's 202 pounds though. He's a bigger guy. He's nice and lean. He can get up and get the ball whenever he wants to.
I feel like the real thing, definitely, if he puts up some nice numbers against Notre Dame, top 3.
The guys.
And they play Notre Dame this week.
What's crazy is he's not even in the top projections right now.
But
I think you'll see as the season goes on. I think his draft stock will go up, and we'll see how he fares.
If he keeps up his numbers, if he keeps increasing his numbers, he'll be in first in yards probably. In receptions, he'll be up there probably. I think he had about 13 receptions.
Touchdowns, he might even be up
there.
there.
Touchdowns, he might even be up there on the deep threat. So I think by the end, if he'll either win the Blitnikoff or be in the top 5. And I think as a receiver, he could be maybe top 4 rounds, I believe.
Correct. Moving into the NFL. What do you want to get into first? Let's go with.
Want to do power rankings? Want to do that first?
Let's go power rankings. You know what? Let's do recap.
Yeah, let's do.
That way we can. Now we gave you our picks on Friday, which you didn't see until Saturday. I apologize for that, but we gave you our picks on Friday. We let you know how we thought the games were going to go. As long as we remember the picks, the Ravens and the Jaguars.
Yep.
Which, when we tallied the picks, we did end up tying.
Yeah.
At a 9-6 record.
4 times. The one true thing, don't take the Jets.
I failed on that. The Ravens did beat the Jaguars. It was a very, very close game. Won on, I believe, a last-second field goal. The Redskins did beat the Giants. We'll get back to that game in a minute. Because that's a game to discuss. The Lions lost to the Packers.
Yep. Which we said on this show, I said
Aaron Rodgers is going to have a comeback game.
Here it is.
You know what? Aaron Rodgers did it.
He's back.
The Dolphins, they beat the Browns in overtime.
Hey, they didn't do exactly what we said.
Absolutely disgusting.
Yeah.
I'm disgusted with the Dolphins.
It should have been, I think, 21 points. They should have won by 21.
The Vikings, with the upset of the week, beat the Panthers. That is crazy. How did that even happen?
As I said, Sam Bradford.
He's settling in. If he can stay healthy, I believe that the Vikings can.
They don't have Adrian Peterson at all. He's not even in.
They're
still having
their backup running back.
Backup running back.
What is? Let me do a little dirty research.
But no. Yeah, Sam Bradford though, he's definitely holding the Vikings down, and it brings up such a big discussion. Teddy Bridgewater is great, don't get me wrong, but if Sam Bradford, let's say Sam Bradford led the Vikings to a conference championship,
correct,
or the Super Bowl, does he stay starter, or does Teddy take it back? I don't really know.
Is Bradford good enough to take the role?
I don't know. That's the thing.
I think that Bradford, I think he plays it safe more than Teddy, because I think Teddy, when he watches the games from the sideline, he thinks the defense isn't good enough, and I think he tries to be a little too risky on offense. Big risk, higher achievement or bigger loss. I think he ends up throwing more interceptions that way. Jerick McKinnon is their backup running back. He's been doing absolutely great. I don't know where he came from. He came from Georgia Southern University, but I mean, coming out of nowhere, he had 45 yards on 16 attempts, which he's averaging about 3 3 yards a carry.
Which the thing is with the Vikings, though, Sam Bradford is just him and the ability to throw.
He's more reliant on the defense. He's being conservative. He's not throwing interceptions.
Which he can do because if the defense of the Vikings is good. But when he was at the Eagles and the former St. Louis Rams, they didn't have defense. He couldn't say, okay, I'm going to play conservative.
Right.
I'm not going to take risks to get interceptions. No, I'm going to play conservative.
Let's let the defense
and their defense is able to do it.
They're handling. Look at Cam Newton. Cam Newton got crushed this week by the Vikings defense. We got the Broncos downing the Bengals. I picked that game wrong. I definitely thought Andy Dalton was going to come through. Trevor Siemian
is
the only quarterback, by the way, to ever throw for 300 yards with 4 touchdowns and no interception.
And I want to say he was a late pick out of Northwestern, 7th round out of Northwestern. And Paxton Lynch, that's amazing because Paxton Lynch was their first round pick, 20th pick just last draft. And Trevor Siemian might be the franchise quarterback now.
We got the Bills.
Okay, yeah, the Bills.
I don't want to talk about
it. It was because they fired their offensive coordinator.
The Bills beat the Cardinals.
And they were
bad. Whatever.
Yeah.
The Raiders beat the Titans. Called that one. The Rams beat the Buccaneers. Are the Rams the real deal? The Rams are 2-1 now.
It's so bad because they're playing Case Keenum as their quarterback. Case Keenum, not Jared Goff. Case Keenum.
How does that happen? The Seahawks handily
They're back.
Destroyed the 49ers. Now, it's looking a lot like they're dependent on Russell Wilson's health. Russell Wilson wasn't 100% last game.
Yeah.
He was 100% against the 49ers, and it looks like, the numbers showed. We'll get to the upset of the week, besides the Vikings, which the Vikings was a major upset, but we'll get to the next one. The Chiefs beat the Jets. God, I'm embarrassed that I picked the Jets.
Ooh.
I am sorry.
6 interceptions, Ryan Fitzpatrick.
The Amish rifle looked like he was looked like his gun sights were a little off. He was aiming over here and his receiver was over here.
Looks like he's gonna go be taking a seat on the bench.
What the hell was who's the Jets coach?
What's his name?
It doesn't matter what his name is. It doesn't matter what his name is.
Benched.
Why the hell would you keep a quarterback in if he has 6 interceptions?
Once he goes past 4,
once you go past 3,
3, 4,
you're cut.
Yeah, it's time. Get
4,
on the bench.
4, you're probably not playing next game.
It's so bad because it's not like Ryan Fitzpatrick is a Tom Brady. He's a game manager quarterback, and they have Geno Smith and Bryce Petty.
He tried to do something.
Pretty good.
I think Bryce Petty should.
Christian Hackenberg is on the team too. They got 3 other quarterbacks, and Ryan Fitzpatrick's throwing 6 interceptions.
And you're telling me you have nobody else to put in the game?
Come on.
We got, come on, man. What is that? We got the Colts beating the Chargers. Now, Andrew Luck didn't exactly play the best.
Yeah, I know.
He did have a decent game, and the Chargers were not able to capitalize at the end of the game.
Chargers they don't have Keenan Allen, and that is showing.
The Sunday night game, the Cowboys beat the Bears. Dak Prescott finally threw his first touchdown pass, and no, he did not get taken out of the game. We'll move on to that game in a little bit because I got a little discussion having to do with that. And then the Falcons beat the Saints. I covered that earlier. Big upset of the week.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes. The Eagles.
The Eagles beat the Steelers. Kyler told us we didn't listen.
It was Carson Wentz
34-3.
So here's
that's not just a win.
That's structure.
That's an embarrassment.
This is going against
the Steelers were what? Were the Steelers 1 in the power rankings?
They were up there.
They were top 3 in the power rankings last.
But 2, they were also. There are a lot of people Super Bowl picks. A lot of people say the Steelers. This is their Super Bowl year.
Not anymore.
After that, they got exposed.
Let's take a look at the power rankings.
So here's the biggest question though. Like this is related to Carson Wentz. Who's more stupid? LA Rams or Cleveland Browns? LA Rams took Jared Goff's number 1. Browns traded the Eagles their number 2 pick. Browns don't even have a quarterback anymore. They have, Cody Kessler. Cody Kessler, that guy. And the Rams have Jared Goff sitting on the bench. So I don't Is that
Is stupidity working?
Yeah, is
because it looks like. Oh, God.
Looks like the Eagles got a steal.
No, it's not a steal. If
they paid for it, but I mean, if Carson Wentz can play, if this is him,
the Browns are dumb. You pick up RG3, you should know what was going to happen. He's the Derrick Rose of the NFL. Granted, let's not.
Oh man,
Let's not say that, D Rose. We don't want you to
come
get
back
this
to you.
But the Patriots move atop of the power rankings, going up one. The Broncos move up from 3 to 2.
Yeah, 3 to 2.
Then we got the Vikings, big mover, going
4.
The Vikings followed by the Packers, both moving from
4 spots down, right?
From 7 and 8 to 3 and 4. We got the Seahawks, another massive move.
Really jumped. And then the
Eagles jumped 8 spots. The Steelers went from 1 to 7.
Yep. I mean, but that's what happens when you lose to...
Words from the NFL.com producers. The Steelers looked flat terrible.
Yep.
The only thing higher than Ben Roethlisberger's throws were the high fives Marcus Wheaton wasn't getting for catching the ball. Good grief. The only reason Pittsburgh doesn't drop lower is the return of Le'Veon Bell. Does that bring good news for the Steelers, or do they still suck?
I feel like the Steelers, they did lose 34-3, but everything was terrible. The offense was terrible, defense, special teams. I think this is a one-time game. I'm not going to guarantee, but I'm going to say the Steelers, they might still make the Super Bowl. This is week 3, okay?
3. Yeah, we still got time.
They'll have time to correct it.
No, we're not going to cover all the power rankings. We'll tell you some. The Cowboys are a big mover, going up to 7. Now, that'll bring us into our first discussion question. What exactly do you think they are going to do in Dallas? I think that's a very, very good question. As you know, Tony Romo is injured at the moment. Dak Prescott, he's playing solid. He finally got a touchdown pass. His completion percentage.
I feel like it's going to have to be a situation where
do you take Dak out and put Romo in, or do you?
I know. I think the smart thing to do would leave Dak in, but in reality, Jason Garrett will. When Tony Romo is better, he'll put Tony Romo.
Now, do you think that's a good or a bad move? I think it. Now, the Cowboys realistically. Which granted, I don't think that they've exactly played the most high-profile teams yet. I think that they played.
See, I don't know if you can. Well, the thing too is with the Cowboys, Dez Bryant looks to be hurt now. So I think that we have some disaster for them. I feel like without having Dez Bryant,
he's not exactly going to have the same receivers.
Exactly, and I feel like with Dak, just because he looks to be their franchise quarterback eventually, they should probably put.
Now you got to look at who they've played so far. They played the Giants week 1. They only lost by 1 point. Which the Giants aren't.
Which they should have had a chance to win.
I feel like the Giants aren't. I think they were a little overrated. I think they beat. Who did they beat? They beat the Cowboys week 1, which were Dak Prescott. It was his first game. He got nerves rattled. The second game they beat the New Orleans Saints, which are mediocre this year. 0-3 for them. And then you got the Bears. Now the Bears aren't really, and that was their first home game, so of course they're going to win it handily. Next up, they're at San Francisco. I can see them losing that game.
No, I think they can win it.
I think they can win it.
I mean, it really depends.
But I think it depends on how Blaine Gabbert plays, because he had a bad game last week, but he was playing.
Yeah.
Then they play the Bengals. That's realistically a loss.
Yeah, Andy Dalton. Good.
At the Packers, that's a loss.
Aaron Rodgers is bad.
Against the Eagles, that's a loss.
Yep.
That's another big topic. That is the showdown that we're all going to be waiting for. Now, let's take a look at the Eagles' schedule. Let's see what exactly they have going on.
The Eagles,
I believe they have a bye week. No, they do have a bye week.
They got a time off.
And then they play the Lions. That's a win.
Mm-hmm.
They play the Redskins. That's a win. Now, they're going to have 2 matchups back to back. And I think those are going to be deciding factors for Carson Wentz. I think he can handle the Lions and the Redskins. But the Vikings, that's a good defense. I think he can win that game, though.
Well, I mean, that game is not just a deciding factor for Carson Wentz, but also Sam Bradford. That really shows us.
That's going to show
Sam Bradford
can you
real.
handle the pressure.
Yep.
Because, I mean, honestly, I could realistically see both of those teams still being undefeated.
Yep.
Granted, that's not until week 7.
I mean, Carson Wentz, he's got
3 games. He's got a week off to relax and not let the pressure get to him. But then they play the Cowboys. Now, let's let that take us into our next discussion question. What do you think on the matter of young quarterbacks? Now, we have a couple. We have Trevor Siemian.
Yep.
A few, rather. We have Trevor Siemian.
Garoppolo is probably there.
I wouldn't put Garoppolo there.
I mean, he's hurt, but
No. The way I'm looking at this, realistically, I'm looking at quarterbacks that have a starting spot.
Okay.
Now, that's why I said I take...
I mean, that's the problem.
That realistically have a chance to have a starting spot. Now, even if Garoppolo would have played amazing those first 4 games...
Tom Brady will take his spot.
Now, when you look at the Dallas situation, Dak Prescott, Tony Romo might still come back, but...
I feel like
Tony Romo is not comparable to Tom Brady when you think about it. Tom Brady would get put back in wherever. Tony Romo...
I feel like Jerry Jones just likes Tony Romo too much.
He does. And, granted, the Pats do love Tom Brady, but he's too good. You can't bench Tom Brady. Now, I think Trevor Siemian, Dak Prescott, and Carson Wentz. I think those are the guys that we need to be talking about. I think Sam Bradford, which he's not young, but the way you see him play right now, he hasn't had enough experience in a good team.
Mm-hmm.
Not even not a great team, but a good team. He's never had the chance to go 3-0 to start a season. He played with St. Louis.
Couple teams.
And he played with
the Eagles.
He played with the Eagles, which had a terrible offensive line, and they weren't so hot. They were in the typical Brown state. They were in the quarterback.
They had Chip Kelly with the weird offense,
and you don't want that. Who do you think is looking like the best right now? And give me some rankings on that. Who do you take at number 4? Or number 3? 4. Because we're going to throw Sam Bradford.
4? I put Sam Bradford.
I put Sam Bradford at 4. Because he hasn't exactly proven yet, which, I don't know. He might have proven a little bit, but he's got to prove more to me with his other receivers.
Mm-hmm.
Stephon Diggs cannot be his only guy. That's why they won the Packers game. At number 3, I think...
I gotta go Dak Prescott just because.
I gotta go Dak Prescott.
He's only thrown 1 touchdown. I mean,
he's thrown 1 touchdown pass. The guy, realistically,
he looks good.
He might start, but realistically, we're gonna have to see how he plays in these upcoming games because he's got a game against Cincinnati.
I feel like he hasn't been tested as much as Trevor Siemian and Carson Wentz have been.
Correct. Now, second, I would have to put Trevor Siemian.
It's really hard for me because I would say that, but.
But the last game. I get what you're saying.
But he also had to play against the Panthers in week 1, and he looked good.
But that wasn't his win. It was.
But Carson Wentz only true... I mean, like, if you look at teams he's played, the only one that we could even really look at is the Steelers. I mean, like, the Steelers he beat them down, but was that the Steelers just being really bad 1 week, or is that the actual Steelers?
I think Trevor Siemian takes the 2. You got Siemian at 1?
Yeah, I got Siemian at 1.
I got Carson Wentz.
I feel like Wentz, he sold me a lot.
I think Wentz completely sold me last game. When you watch a guy go through 3 games,
without an interception. I mean, yes, that is great. He doesn't have an interception. I think 6 touchdowns.
Which given Siemian is a good quarterback, but
it's a very close 1 and 2.
Carson Wentz. He's the first rookie to have no interceptions in his first 3 games and go 3-0. And I think those are all good wins.
I mean, granted, the one thing that I guess Carson Wentz does have over Trevor Siemian is Siemian has Demaryius Thomas and has more elite receivers.
Which they did beat the Browns week 1, but his average QBR is 103.8. He's got a 64% completion percentage.
Mm-hmm.
He's got 769 yards through 3 games. He's averaging 250 a game. He's got 5 touchdowns and no interceptions.
Yep.
I mean, out of 16 games, he's on pace to basically break 5,000 yards, have 25 touchdowns, and as of now, no interceptions. Which, granted, he probably will throw a couple, but I think the Eagles might have finally found their next franchise quarterback.
No, Carson Wentz is definitely their franchise quarterback. I tell you, he will be better than or equal to Ben Roethlisberger in the future. Just right now, but I have Trevor Siemian and Carson Wentz very close together. They're not far. I just have Siemian over him because I feel like Siemian has had better competition.
Which, granted, you do have a very good point.
But Carson Wentz also has.
But I also feel like
receivers.
If it wasn't for the last game, Trevor Siemian would be at the bottom of this list. Because, yes, against the Bengals, I think the Bengals had a bad game.
Well, but that's what you can say about the Steelers, too. I feel like the Steelers.
But then you have to look against the mediocre Colts this year and against the Panthers that also aren't so hot. He threw his first. Now, granted, this past game, he had 300 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. He had 132 rating. Through the first 2 games, now, which his averages are definitely up now, through the first 2 games, he only averaged about 210 yards passing. He averaged less than 1 touchdown a game, and he also averaged an interception.
But the one thing is the Broncos is a team that relies more on its defense. So.
No, but that's what I'm trying to get at.
I feel like if you put Carson Wentz on the Broncos, his numbers are going to be equal to.
I think if you put Carson Wentz on the Broncos, I think he looks better.
I think he looks the same because the Broncos are such a defensive-heavy team. Whereas in the Eagles, they take so many risks, and that's what we saw against the Steelers. But also, too, I feel like the Steelers team we saw was just a really bad week. I feel like this Steelers team, we're going to be looking at it.
Yeah, but when you put in 10 I think weeks, the offense might have been off.
I think the defense was off.
Defense is defense. They still put up 34 points on the Steelers.
Well, yeah, but I think they just had an off week, the entire team. And I feel like when we look back on this, if we say, if the Eagles turn out to not, they go, 8-8, and then we look back, we're going to say, well, that was just a really off week for the Steelers. Because I feel like the Steelers just had a very off week. I feel like if we look in the future, I'm pretty positive the Steelers will be one of those contenders for the Super Bowl. I think they just had a very off week, and I feel like they're going to go into practice this week, and they're going to correct these issues, and Roethlisberger will be back. But granted, Carson Wentz had a great week. Nothing taking away from him.
Right.
I just feel like the Steelers had a really off week, and that's why, it's...
I think we're going to have to revisit this topic.
You got to
give it...
I think 2 or 3 weeks.
I say give it until week 8.
Yeah,
we're going into week 4. I think week 8, most of the bye weeks will have passed. We can kind of see how Dak's fared. We can see how Simeon's fared if Simeon, just had a freak game, or we can see if Carson Wentz, because that's the only thing that pulls me. Trevor Siemian has had 2 bad games and a good one. Carson Wentz has had 3 good games. Now, granted, those might not have been against the best teams, but you have to look at it like every guy in the NFL is playing to win. Every guy in the NFL was drafted for a reason, and every guy in the NFL. You could put the Cleveland Browns against the best team in college football, and the Browns are probably going to win, just because that's an NFL team. Yeah, and that is a team, that's a team full of, especially, you got to think, the Browns, they may suck, but think of the Jaguars in that perspective. Mm-hmm. It's not a matter of lack of talent. It's more a matter of lack of chemistry. Mm-hmm. I think if the Browns could pull in, all they need is a quarterback. They need a leader.
But I feel like even if you put Carson Wentz on the Browns, I don't think he's successful.
I think so.
I think even though Carson doesn't have a lot of good receivers at the Eagles, they're a lot better than what the Browns have.
True.
The Browns' top guy, Corey Coleman is not there, but if you look at actual experienced guys, Terrell Pryor's, I feel like,
and Josh Gordon's not even there yet.
Yeah, so they don't have. I feel like
correct.
The problem that the Browns had is not that they have had, they've had some good draft picks as quarterbacks, and they've had Brian Hoyer and Josh McCown as just guys to hold it down, but they just don't have anyone to throw to. They throw the ball to Gary Barnidge all the time. So I feel like I feel like Carson Wentz's Eagles, he got he was saved.
He lucked out.
Because if he goes to the Browns, I think he's not as good. I think he'll last in the NFL if he went to the Browns. But at the Eagles, we really see a stardom, and I think he's going to franchise quarterback. He'll be the next Donovan McNabb for the Eagles.
Okay. Now, moving into the last discussion topic, we're going to talk about Odell Beckham and his attitude. Now, we touched on it yesterday, but we didn't have a lot of time. If you watched the game, Odell got completely out of control.
Yep.
Now, I've been watching, shows all day speculating what exactly happened with Odell. Why was he acting like that? Should he act like that? Now, some people are saying that his ego's a good thing and that he needs to be that, that guy. But at the same time, I hear a lot of people saying that he is the star player on that team. Eli has transitioned out of that star role. What do you think of the Giants right now? Especially now, we've watched the Giants for many years. We saw Eli win the Super Bowls. For younger viewers that didn't exactly,
see David Tyree in that Super Bowl.
Well, they didn't see them. They're looking at Odell Beckham. Odell Beckham, is, I don't want to say the word hip, but he's in with the crowd.
Yeah,
he does all the dances that the kids love.
He's got the like spectacular catches.
Correct. He's the guy that people grow up wanting to be. The one-handed catches, the dancing, getting away with all this stuff. But does that justify his actions? Now,
I don't think it does.
The funniest thing I found was watching the game and seeing him smack the net.
Field goal net, yep.
It came back and hit him in the face. Now, I will give him props. That is a man. Because he took that hit. He knows it hurt. He knows that hit hurt. That was a metal pole. And those field goal nets, kickers are pounding those with the football. And they don't even flinch.
Yep.
He smacks it with his helmet and hits him in the face. It hurt. He wasn't crying out of frustration. He was crying because it hurt. He has got to do a better job controlling his emotions.
No, he definitely does. If he doesn't start controlling his emotions, definitely, he's going to turn out to be a Terrell Owens, Chad Johnson,
now, do you see him?
Type person.
Do you see him controlling his emotions? What is your outlook for Odell Beckham? Do you think? I don't think he can do it.
I don't think he can do it
because even against the Redskins, with Norman, Odell did have a fantastic game. Odell had 100+ yards. He had 80 of those on Norman.
Yep.
The great stiff arm that I'm sure everybody saw by now. What Norman has going for him, though, he didn't allow a touchdown. And the Redskins defense didn't allow a win.
Yep.
Now, who did the if you ever watched 300, obviously a true story, the Spartans, faced off against the Persians. Now, the Spartans continued to win these battles in, a sense of relation. But at the end, who was getting the final laugh?
Yep.
It was definitely the Persians because, they got the win in that aspect as to where the Spartans were getting, multiple catches, so to speak. They were winning these battles, but I think Odell was winning the battles, but he didn't win the war. And for bragging rights, you have got to win the war. Now, they're division teams, correct?
Yep, they both are.
So what does that mean?
Two games a season.
Which means they play.
Yeah, I think it's December 1st or 3rd.
They play one more time. Now, is that going to be the deciding factor to see who's better?
It's going to be interesting. But I think going back to his attitude, I feel like it's going to be hard. He can correct it, but he might not.
I think it's up to the coach.
Very much. If the coach presses to him, you need to fix this.
You have got to stop this, or there's going to be an issue.
Or you're literally off the team.
Correct.
Then, yes, he'll change.
He's got to provide incentive, and he's got to let him know.
Which I would. I mean, if this is your franchise player, I understand, yes, you don't want to say, you're off the team.
He's got to let him know. If you do not stop, you got to go.
And I mean, honestly, yes, I know Odell's a good player.
We saw so many great players taken off of teams specifically for their ego. Deshaun Jackson.
Yep.
Gone.
Eagles.
LaShawn McCoy.
I mean, and
gone.
What's really funny is those are, some people on the Eagles. You got Terrell Owens. Gone again.
Now, not just picking out one team, but we have to make examples. Now,
and
Terrell Owens did that with multiple teams.
Yes.
He went from the Eagles to
Cowboys,
was it the Cowboys?
Yeah.
Well, he went from the 49ers to the Eagles, and then the Eagles to the Cowboys. Now, his attitude was getting the best of him, and teams do not want that attitude. Mm-hmm. They don't want any off-the-field issues. Yeah, no. Look at Ray Rice. Mm-hmm. He's gone. Adrian Peterson was almost gone.
Yep.
You know, and these are franchise players.
Yeah.
But I think that's gonna.
Yeah, I Odell, gotta correct your issues. That's all I can say.
And that's what's got to happen. I think that's going to wrap it up for us today. We will be back tomorrow with
a weekly.
We will have Billy's fantasy predictions for the first time. I'm gonna skip that because I don't want you yelling at me if I get the picks wrong.
Look for him. He's a good, insightful person. He knows what he's doing.
He's been preparing for it, so you might actually get some good information. We will see you tomorrow with our daily news and with our fantasy predictions. You guys have a good Tuesday, which you'll see this video on Wednesday, I'm sure. And we'll catch you next time.
Look for the next podcast on Friday. Catch you later.